2025 Arizona Cardinals training camp is now in the books. Today we're going to go ahead and recap the entire 2025 Arizona Cardinals training camp, what you need to know, and who are going to be some potential players that might not make the 53-man roster. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. But today we're going to go ahead and give you the lowdown of everything that you need to know about the Arizona Cardinals 2025 training camp, what we saw, and potential cuts that might have made the roster last year that might not make the roster this year because of so much depth on the defensive side of the ball. But I want to go and first start off with just kind of talking overall with what happened today. Now, today was the last day of the Arizona Cardinals training camp, so it's now going to be officially in the books, but I feel like we absolutely learned a lot today. I want to actually first start off by saying these whole 1v1 drills that we're seeing, they need to stop putting Budda Baker against Trey McBride. Like, they're just constantly doing Budda Baker dirty. This is my third straight training camp that we've seen Budda Baker to try to cover Trey McBride on a 1v1. It's just an absolute mismatch. It really is. I love Budda Baker, but we're talking about a 5'10 player versus a 6'4 plus man. So it's to the point where it's really not fair, but it just kind of shows you that Trey McBride is going to hit that next level this year. Now, what we've seen from Trey McBride in training camp is nothing but excellent. Like, you can tell that Trey and Kyler's connection is going to blossom much more than what we've seen in the end of 2024. Heading into 2025, he definitely seems like he is still Kyler's safety blanket, and he's always going to target him. He's probably going to lead the Arizona Cardinals in pass catchers in the most amount of receptions, if I'm just going to call it right now. And the connection between Marvin and Kyler Murray, it's getting a little bit better. There's some times here and there where maybe the ball was overthrown, maybe the ball was dropped, maybe the ball was not placed in the right spot, or maybe just kind of a little bit of a miscommunication that ended up happening. But they are making a real big emphasis that Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. need to get on the same page. And for the most part, with what we've seen in training camp, now, like I said before, it's not going to be like it is in preseason and regular season, but it's as close as we got as of right now. Now, Jonathan Gannon did come out and say that the starters will be playing this weekend versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we don't know exactly how long they're going to be playing for. I'm hoping that it is maybe a drive or two. Just kind of really depends on what happens on that specific drive. If we're talking about a 3-and-out, throw those starters back out there to see if they can get some sort of rhythm. But if the Arizona Cardinals offense come out here and put up 7 points on the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe it's enough to kind of pull them out of, the game and then kind of reassess on what happens here in game 2 of preseason. But overall, I'm excited about what preseason could hold for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think this was a real good competition from left to right. We saw a lot of good highlight reels today. And like I said before, this is as close as the Cardinals can get to real football, because they were going, I would probably say 80, maybe even 90%. Now, of course, the defense cannot go a full 110%, because if they do get back there and cause the pressure, they cannot tackle the quarterback, whether it's Jacoby, Kyler, or maybe even Clayton Tune. They got to kind of have to hold back and, stop what they're doing. But overall, whenever we're seeing these type of practices, we usually do see the Arizona Cardinals defense are favored a little bit more than the Arizona Cardinals offense, but the Arizona Cardinals offense did a pretty good job overall. Kyler Murray had a few throws over to Trey McBride, and like I said before, Trey McBride is going to have himself a year in 2025. You can book it, man. This guy's going to have an absolute clinic of a year, and I'm excited to see what his, stats are going to be. I just hope that the touchdowns kind of catch up to the yardage that he ended up putting here in 2024. Now, what we're seeing again is Zay Jones and Kyler Murray's connection only getting better and better as the training camps go through. Now, Michael Wilson, unfortunately, ended up having a collide with Buda Baker a few camps back. He was put on concussion protocol, but we actually did see him out there today. He did sport the yellow jersey, which means obviously he's probably very, very limited. So I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing Michael Wilson in week one because obviously the concussion protocol, but he was good enough to practice today, but in a limited fashion. So what we're seeing is Zay Jones and Kyler Murray trying to build that connection. And what I've seen so far is I might have been a little too quick to make a decision on Zay Jones, but so far, we're seeing really good things from Zay. Now, when we're kind of asked who's going to be your number 3 wide receiver if Michael Wilson's healthy, I honestly would give the nod over to Zay Jones over Greg Dortch, which I like Greg Dortch. I really do, but I think it's kind of time to start seeing maybe a guy over 6 foot in the slot, and I feel like that would be a really cool thing to see for the Arizona Cardinals offense. Just kind of give it a different look overall. But of course, you've seen your Kyler Murray over to Trey McBride passes. You've seen your Kyler Murray over to Marvin Harrison Jr. passes. There's been a few that were missed when the ball wasn't as far out as our wide receiver one might have thought it was going to go to. There was one specific play that the social media world ended up kind of, making a lot of engagement, a lot of chatter, a lot of talks amongst themselves, saying things like, "Oh, this was a underthrow. Oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. should have a contested catch here." So I'm actually very curious to figure out what your opinion is on this specific play here from Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Let me know here in the comments below what you overall feel. But we also seen Kyler throw the ball really, really good up the middle over to Trey McBride as well as Marvin Harrison Jr. We've seen some completions here and there, but like I said, if we're going to be getting a nod on over to a specific group, it probably be the defensive side of the ball because they have been showing consistently in and week out or day in and day out that they are so much better than they were in 2024. They just got the talent, they got the depth, they got the viciousness, right? They got the violence to kind of put back on them, and they are going to be a very, very good team with the acquisitions of Calais, Dalvin Tomlinson, Walter Nolan. Although we haven't seen him in training camp, everybody's really excited about him. Josh Sweat. We just had a facelift of all these upgrades that we ended up doing here on the defensive line. And now let's talk about some standouts here for the Arizona Cardinals. Now I'm going to focus on the defensive side of the ball right now, and then we'll move on over to the offensive side of the ball. I want to go and give a shout out here to Mac Wilson Sr. This guy's been playing with his head on fire every single time I see him out there, man. I'm really excited about this acquisition for the Cardinals. Now, at one point when we first, brought him in free agency, I thought we would be able to use him a little bit more on the defensive line. But the beautiful part is now that we added all these players, we don't have to use him like that. But he has the ability to play edge as well. But I think right now, the last we heard is Jonathan Gannon does say that he is going to potentially play the Mike linebacker, maybe even the will, just kind of really depending on specific packages. So the defense will be moving him around as much as they possibly can. But next to him is probably going to be Akeem Davis-Gaither, and I think that's going to be the big unknown heading into the 2025 Arizona Cardinal defense. So Mac Wilson Sr., a real big standout. I want to give a shout out here to also Will Johnson, second-round pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. This kid has done nothing but standouts from top to bottom. I think he easily has 2+ interceptions in this training camp, and he's just been doing a very, very good job. Now, of course, with the unfortunate injuries of Sean Murphy-Bunting as well as Sterling Thomas V, it gives more of an opportunity to these young cornerbacks to kind of take the helm and kind of run with it. And right now, it definitely seems like Will Johnson is going to be that player that's going to kind of benefit from the injuries that ended up happening, but he's looking pretty solid. Now, is he going to come out here and be a lockdown corner for the Cardinals? Probably not, right? I've said this before. The cornerback position from the collegiate level to the NFL level is probably one of the hardest positions to try to master. I truly do believe we are in a good position from our cornerback group right now that is so young with Max Melton, Garrett Williams, as well as Will Johnson. I think we are in absolute good hands, and I'm excited to see what we're going to be able to do moving forward. One other standout that I want to go ahead and mention here is actually two more. Let's say Buda Baker, man. Buda Baker's always out there. It doesn't matter if he gets hurt or if he gets hit really hard. He always bounces up and jumps right back up. Buda Baker's a beast, and he's going to continue to kind of build on his Pro Bowl career. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in 2025. But Darius Robinson has looked pretty darn well, but somebody that has looked a little bit better here, in my personal opinion. Now, granted, he's not rolling with the ones. He's usually rolling with the 2s and the 3s, but that's going to be my guy, Dante Stills. This guy is an absolute wrecker, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Hopefully, he takes a big jump here in 2025 for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, like I said, he's probably not going to be a starter, but when he's given his opportunity, I do feel like he is making a difference on the defensive side of the ball. We will see him in 2025, being the fact that the Cardinals do have a rotational type of defense. So excited to see what Darius Robinson and Dante Stills is going to be doing for the Arizona Cardinals in 2025. Let's move on over to the offensive side of the ball. Got to give some love on over to Marvin Harrison Jr. We've seen nothing but great things about Marvin Harrison Jr. making crazy one-handed catches, throwing his body, contorting his body, and just doing real good wide receiver things, right? That's the type of stuff that we wanted to see from year 1 to year 2. Now, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously added a lot of muscle, and that was hopefully to make him be able to be more physical at the line and hopefully be able to have more contested catches, right? And we're seeing that here in training camp. So my number one guy to obviously know on the offensive side of the ball is Marvin Harrison Jr. My second is James Conner and Trey Benson. There definitely is going to be a split share with in terms of running the ball. It might not be 70-30, but I think it might dial back down to maybe 60-40 now, maybe even 65-35. We're going to try to see, Trey Benson a little bit more. At least that's what Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing ended up saying. They truly do believe they have 2 number 1 running backs on this team, so I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing and hopefully our next two-headed duo of the future. Now, let's move on over to one other guy I want to talk about here is going to be none other than, I would say Zay Jones here, but I want to kind of give some love on over to a guy that might not make the roster, but has shown out really well within these last couple days. Tajon Palmer, man. Tajon Palmer, I believe it was a 6th round pick for the Cardinals few years back, did not make the 53-man roster, and Xavier Weaver was actually a UDFA and made the roster, and Tajon Palmer, which was a drafted guy, didn't make it. But honestly, this camp, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually makes it on this roster, because I was having a lot more high hopes for Xavier Weaver, if I'm going to be honest, and we've seen some flashes here and there, but the consistency of Xavier Weaver probably isn't there like we want and are wanting to see going into preseason. But that's the beautiful part, right? We got preseason football coming our way, so Xavier Weaver can still kind of put a clinic out there, as well as Tajon Palmer. But we are going to be dealing with a situation where there's going to be real tough decisions being made on multiple different positions on the defensive side of the ball as well as the offensive side of the ball once the 53-man roster is constructed. Now, Kyler Murray, how's he look so far in training camp? I think solidly. I think he's looking pretty darn well. I think he actually recognized that there was one specific camp, and I actually noted that as well, that the offense did not look good on that camp, and he noted, but he has looked pretty comfortable. He's looked pretty, confident within this Arizona Cardinals offense with Drew Petzing going into his year 3. I think overall, what we need to see more than anything is a lot more deep shots that are being connected by him as well as his wide receivers, and overall just more chemistry being built, right? That's one of the main reasons why I'm actually very, very excited to see what this Arizona Cardinal team can do in this year's preseason, because we haven't seen Kyler Murray play preseason in what feels like 2 or 3 years, right? It's been an absolute long time. So I love that Jonathan Gannon is now starting to turn the corner and see what benefits this actually has, because the Cardinals have started really, really slow to start the season off within the first 2 years of Jonathan Gannon, whether that was Dobbs or Kyler Murray starting against the Buffalo game. So, this definitely is going to help the Cardinals, absolutely. Overall, I'm excited to see what preseason is going to hold. And let's talk about potential surprise cuts heading into, the regular season. Now, of course, like I said before, we still probably got 3 or 4 weeks before we're even talking about this. But these are guys that I was expecting a little bit more from in training camp, but we really haven't seen anything like from them. Let's start off with my first potential cut that I have here. That's going to be none other than Bilal Nichols. Now, Bilal Nichols did start on, before training camp on the PUP list. So it's kind of really hard to judge him on, not really seeing anything in training camp, but he was hurt last year. He was put back on the PUP list before training camp started, but he really hasn't shown very much to the Cardinals right now. And being the fact that we got so much depth on this team, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up cutting Bilal Nichols and keeping Justin Jones. So this is one of those guys that might make the roster, but because we haven't seen him and because this league is very, very non-forgiving, we might see a world where Bilal Nichols might not make the 53-man roster because of the addition of Calais, Dalvin Tomlinson, as well as Walter Nolan. Just so much depth within this Arizona Cardinal defensive line that he might fall victim to just too much depth on this D-line. Let's move on over to the next guy, Elijah Jones. Man, I was really expecting and have a lot of high praise for Elijah Jones. Unfortunately, last year he ended up on the IR. He was hoping and expecting a big jump this year, but with the addition of Will Johnson and all the other moving parts that ended up happening, what I've seen in training camp so far, I really haven't seen a lot of Elijah Jones. And when I see him on the field, he's running with the threes. Very rarely do I see him with the twos. He is with the twos, but like I really mainly see him with the threes more than anything. I don't really see him as a guy that's making a lot of impactful plays in this year's training camp. Now, we can be surprised. He can definitely very well be on this roster heading into 2025. But I don't know, man, with the cornerbacks we got right now, especially with the three that we have, Will Johnson, Max Melton, as well as Garrett Williams, which is set to be our 1, 2, 3 guys. And then after them, Keitrell Clark, Denzel Burke, and then maybe even Jalen Jones, which is our veteran. They are showing out a lot more in training camp than, said Elijah Jones might be doing. But you never know. Yeah, he could probably go crazy in preseason. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out. Number 3 is going to be Clayton Tune. I do believe that the Arizona Cardinals most likely will be carrying 2 quarterbacks heading into the regular season. It's just kind of something that they've been doing. And we might be seeing Clayton Tune find his way in the practice squad. So I'm not saying he's going to be cut and no longer a Cardinal. I think he's going to remain with the Cardinals, but be put on the practice squad, which, at this very moment, Jacoby Brissett is obviously leaps and bounds better than Clayton Tune is right now. There's not really much a quarterback competition. Kyler's your 1, and Jacoby Brissett is your 2 as of right now. Number 4, LJ Collier, former first-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks, with the Arizona Cardinals for a few years. But overall, I think he's going to be in the same position as Bilal Nichols, although Collier has had more plays in training camp. I think it's going to fall victim to the amount of depth that we have on this roster. So LJ Collier might be a guy that might not make this roster. Now, some people might say that they would rather take LJ Collier over Justin Jones. Let's see what the Arizona Cardinals decide to do. At one point, Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols were going to be their big time free agent acquisitions in 2024, which obviously hasn't really amounted to very much in 2024, of course, because they ended up dealing with some injuries. But I think right now that LJ Collier might be the odd man out, as well as Bilal Nichols. But let me know your guys' overall thoughts here in the comments below. But we've seen a lot of great things in this year's training camp. It's been a very, very exciting, physical. We're learning a lot about the 2025 Arizona Cardinals, and I'm just hoping that we can stay healthy in preseason. I'm hoping that this regular season can really give us something to cheer for in 2025, because it's time, y'all. It's time that the Arizona Cardinals finally make it over the hump and finally get themselves into the playoffs. And they haven't been there in a very long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you have been able to go to training camp, let me know here in the comments below what were your overall highlights and what are your overall thoughts. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cardinals.